I spoke to Justice Madan Lokur, the retired Supreme Court judge, one of the finest legal minds in the country, who had in the past also been the judge when the Manipur fake encounter case was looked at. He has a nuanced understanding of the Armed Forces Special Powers Act. His views very, very important indeed in this particular case. Sir, a part of the Armed Forces Special Powers Act says that in operations like this, there is blanket immunity. In a situation like that, what challenges does that pose to the process of justice, which is basic for everyone in our country?
Yes, thank you, Vishnu, for inviting me for this discussion. You see, under the Armed Forces Special Powers Act, although wide powers have been given to the armed forces, it does not mean, that they can go around just killing anybody, right? There has to be a reason why, some action is to be taken under the law. But just because you have the power to enter somebody's home, right, you just can't enter and, say, well, I'm entering because I want to enter.
Right.
So to that extent, the application of the law is extremely defective in the sense that it gives complete power and, people can do whatever they want with impunity.
Justice Lokur, I'm just trying to understand, where does the word murder get applicable, or where does the word attempt to murder get applicable in a situation like this? And I'll tell you why, sir. In a situation like this, an ambush has been laid, but the army unit has not come under fire. There is no contention or statement that they have. In other words, they have not retaliated. They have proactively engaged a target. So therefore, can the word or the allegation of murder be used despite the immunity that they enjoy?
Yes, it can be. You see, one of the situations that arose in the case that was decided by the Supreme Court with regard to extrajudicial killings in Manipur, right, where the allegation was that over a period of time, more than 1,500 people were killed on the ground that they were insurgents and so on. Now, the view taken was that, on behalf of the armed forces, was that we were retaliating in self-defense. Mm-hmm. And what do you expect us to do? Mm-hmm. Okay. But that is a matter that has to be investigated. Okay. Now here, it seems to be quite clear in this particular case that the persons who were killed were unarmed. In fact, even after the incident took place, the vehicle was searched and they found nothing over there. And as you said, it was not retaliatory. The armed forces proactively did whatever, they did. So it would certainly qualify as, an intention to kill. Perhaps, depending upon the investigation, it could perhaps be called intention to kill.
Justice Lokur, how does the police investigate this case if they do not have access right away, off the bat, to those involved in this operation?
I don't know how they are going to investigate. Actually, I believe that in a situation like this, where the armed forces are involved and completely innocent civilians are involved against whom there's absolutely no allegation, no information, nothing at all, I think there should be an independent investigation done by people, by eminent people. They should be the ones to investigate, because there are, sufficient chances, if I may use that expression, there are sufficient chances for the armed forces to try and cover up the incident,
Yeah.
And there does appear to be some information that, after the incident was, after the killings took place, they tried to hide the bodies, So that being the situation, I think there should be a completely independent probe of eminent citizens.
Justice Lokur, when you were looking into the Manipur fake encounter case, you asked the CBI, why were custodial interrogations of the men in the armed forces who have been charged with murder. Why has that not taken place? But then again, sir, on that occasion, there was AFSPA, right? So on what basis did you raise this point in that case, sir?
Well, because it appeared that, these were not, acts which were done in self-defense, so to speak. Mm-hmm. They were proactive. That was the prima facie view, but then that was a matter that had to be investigated. And there were orders that had been passed, in some inquiries, including one conducted by former Supreme Court Judge Justice Santosh Hegde, to say that, these encounters were fake. Now, if they are fake encounters, well, it would amount to murder, right? So that's why the investigation. Similarly here, because, it was not in self-defense, so to speak, but proactive action taken by the armed forces, it could amount to murder. Again, depending upon the investigations and whatever the facts are revealed eventually.
Justice Lokur, another point that comes up, in fact, it did in this particular case on the Manipur situation, is when a viewpoint was raised in court to you by the defense, who said that the morale of the armed forces was being affected in the manner in which that particular case was being heard in court, to which I believe you said that the armed forces are strong enough to deal with issues surrounding morale. In this particular case as well, the entire morale argument has been raised, that don't destroy or harm the morale of our army or of that unit. Do you believe that this argument at all needs to be raised?
Well, I don't know. I mean, if somebody goes and kills somebody in cold blood, right, and says that, well, my morale is going to be affected, or the morale of my men is going to be affected, it doesn't make any sense, right? So, from the facts that are available, of course, this is just tentative in the sense that we don't know the full facts. And as you have said, the facts appear to be that these people were going in a truck, and there may have been an intelligence report or something, but the armed forces opened fire and killed 6 of them, and 2 were critically injured.
Yeah.
Right? Where does the question of morale come in?
Yeah. Yeah. And so, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, no, I don't see the question of morale coming in anywhere.
Yeah. So, sir, one final question. Now, in Parliament, the Home Minister, Mr. Amit Shah, did not make any remark on AFSPA being waived in this case, the Armed Forces Special Powers Act being waived to allow full police questioning and prosecution. Is that something that disappoints you? Because at the very least, it would mean that the process of seeking justice has to go through that entire process where the police make an appeal to the army that we want to question these men. The army then has to speak to the defense ministry, that then needs to go to the home ministry, that needs then to be examined in a situation where time is of essence. Would you have liked to have heard Mr. Amit Shah saying that we are willing to waive AFSPA as per the requirement in this case?
Yes, certainly. And in fact, like I said, I would go a little beyond that and say that there should be, an investigation by eminent citizens. If necessary, the police can involve them, or maybe eminent citizens can be asked or requested, to conduct an independent investigation, because there are going to be problems, one way or the other. And let's come out with what is the truth. What's the harm?
Yeah.
We should know the truth.
Yeah. Well, sir, it's always very interesting speaking to you and getting your views on this very, very sensitive situation. It's very sad that there is so much tension now in Nagaland, and the death of these innocent civilians. It's just shocking. It's something that all of us need to reflect on. But thank you so much for sharing your perspective, sir. Thank you so much indeed.